Hello, everyone. We have some people joining. Who do we have here? Hi, Beth. Oh, Beth, I recognize your name. Recognize you. Cynthia, hello. While you're joining, if you want, you can drop in the chat where you're joining from. We'd love to hear about that. Heather, hello. Hi, Jennifer. Love, obviously, anybody named Jennifer. Best. Hello, Jesse and Julie, Karen. And we have Kent. Oh, Sarah is joining from Bloomington, Minnesota. Do you guys know
All
each other?
right. No, but just
Team
down the street.
Minnesota. And we have
I know
Lori and
Jesse in
Mary.
Kenosha. Hi, Jesse.
Nice. And we have Cynthia from California. Nice. Cynthia, we're on the West Coast this morning, me and you. And we have Beth. She's joining from Illinois. Illinois. Sorry. And we have Philip and Rita. Who else? Heather is joining from Indiana, I believe. Oh, we have somebody from Ontario, Canada. Jennifer, I'm from Canada too, so that's exciting. Two Jennifers from Canada. What are the odds? All right, so we're just waiting, giving everybody a couple minutes to get in and get settled. While you're joining, please drop in the chat where you're joining from. Who else? Eleanor and Mary, Maureen. Yeah, you can drop in the chat where you're joining. Ryan. Okay, we'll give everybody one more minute to get in. Right. Sometimes we have people from like different places in the world. I think we've had one webinar where somebody was joining us from Greece. Uh, so some cool places. Indiana, Amy's joining from Michigan. Michigan is quite beautiful. I went there last May and hung out at Saline Area Schools in Ann Arbor. Ooh, beautiful place. Yeah, really cute. And we have Eleanor from Pennsylvania. Love that. Rewatching The Office, so Pennsylvania is obviously big from there. Donna from New York. Donna is one of my favorite Prize Vision customers. She is my number one supporter. Comes to all the webinars. We've talked to Donna a lot. Amazing. Thank you, Donna, for being here.
Good
All
geographical
right.
representation today.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a little bit from all over. All right. Well, my name is Jennifer. I am the growth marketing manager at Rise Vision. If you're here, you've probably heard of Rise Vision. And so thank you for being here. And we have Jake from Captivate Media here today. I'm going to turn it over to Jake and let him share about building or rebuilding trust in your school community.
Awesome. Thanks, Jennifer. Just a quick couple words about Captivate. So I worked in my background, I worked in two different school districts in the Twin Cities area for a combined about 12 years. And then about 10 years ago, I started Captivate Media and really saw a need for schools to communicate more effectively, especially with video, motion graphics, design, and a lot of the stuff that I was seeing that schools were creating. Honestly, it kind of looked like a third grader was making the videos. So I knew that there was something in here and a way to be able to partner with schools on really important things, whether those are referendum campaigns, whether those are enrollment marketing campaigns, so many other needs that schools have. And me and my team, we do that through video, motion graphics, and design. You can check out our website if you want to see more. And we've got clients all over the country. Some of them send us video for us to be able to edit. So we don't always have to come on site to be able to put together some professionally edited videos. But today we are talking about building and rebuilding trust, which is a really important piece. It's really kind of I think the lifeblood for so many school districts that if you don't have trust with your community, trust with your staff, everything that you do is more difficult to near impossible to be able to get done. So I wanted to start with like just talking about, I guess, broken trust and what that looks like. And I'm not sure if you have any stories in terms of just times when customer service or an organization that you work with has broken your trust. There's a couple for me. I think of Home Depot. I feel like every time that I go in there, I don't get the help that I need. It's always really hard to find somebody to help me out. And the help that I do get, I get back home and it's not the right part or piece that I need to be able to put things together. And lately, Uber's been another one too, where you request a ride, and for whatever reason, the person doesn't show up on time, or the ride gets canceled, and it's incredibly frustrating. Jennifer, any good or bad customer service experiences that you've had recently?
Oh, the only one I can think of is airlines. I travel a lot, at least once a month, and sometimes with the airlines, there's always an issue, whether your bag is being checked, your bag is lost, you're being bumped, whatever the case is. I think being in the airline industry right now would be totally tough, and I think that they have a really bad rap for customer service, but I think they kind of do it to themselves. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. And if people in the chat want to just put any names of companies or any short stories, I'm sure it's usually entertaining, although it's not entertaining at the time when you're going through the headache. But usually, there's customer service experiences and organizations that come to mind when we start having that conversation. So go ahead and throw that in the chat. When I think about trust, someone once described it to me as a number of small deposits into a piggy bank. It takes a lot of time to get built up, and it can be wiped away in an instant. And those small deposits over time, they can be interactions that are taking place in your school. Maybe your child forgets their backpack in their locker, and you need to get into the school after hours to be able to get that backpack to get the homework completed at the end of the night. And obviously, that experience that you have with a custodian to maybe let you into the building and get you access to the right part of the building to be able to get that piece, that has the ability to put money into the proverbial piggy bank here, or to be able to take some of that out. And then different interactions with principals and different things that maybe are in the news that are taking place, good or bad, within your school district. All of these pieces are either deposits or debits into that piggy bank. And obviously, we want to be able to keep depositing those funds into the piggy bank, and we'll be talking about that today. And the more that's built up, the less likely there's going to be a run on the bank. So there are going to be tough things that happen. There are going to be tough customer experience pieces that happen, tough experiences that some parents have with the school district. When there is some trust built up, you can usually, buffer that a little bit by having some goodwill and some of that built up in the bank. And we're going to be talking about ways to be able to build up that trust in the bank today. Brene Brown also talks about building trust, and she uses a different analogy around marbles in a marble jar. And this clip here that I want to show talks about one of her experiences with one of her children in school and around trust.
One day, my daughter, Ellen, came home from school. She was in 3rd grade. And the minute we closed the front door, she literally just started sobbing and slid down the door until she was just kind of a heap of crying on the floor. And of course, it scared me. And I said, "Oh my, what's wrong, Ellen? What happened? What happened?" And she pulled herself together enough to say, something really hard happened to me today at school, and I shared it with a couple of my friends during recess. And by the time we got back into the classroom, everyone in my class knew what had happened. And they were laughing and pointing at me and calling me names. And it was so bad, and the kids were being so disruptive, that her teacher even had to take marbles out of this marble jar. And the marble jar in the classroom is a jar where if the kids are making great choices together, the teacher adds marbles. If they're making not great choices, the teacher takes out marbles. And if the jar gets filled up, there's a celebration for the class. And so she said, it was one of the worst moments of my life. They were laughing and pointing, and Miss Balkin, my teacher, kept saying, "I'm going to take marbles out," and she didn't know what was happening. And she looked at me, and she, just with this face that is just seared into my mind, and said, "I will never trust anyone again." And my first reaction, to be really honest with you, was damn straight. You don't tell anybody anything but your mama. Yeah, right? That's it. I mean, that was my like, you just tell me. And when you grow up and you go off to school, Mama will go too. I'll get a little apartment. Um, and the other thing I was thinking, to be quite honest with you, is I will find out who those kids were. And while I'm not going to beat up a 9-year-old, I know their mamas. That's the place you go to. And I'm like, how am I going to explain trust to this 3rd grader in front of me? So I took a deep breath and I said, Ellen, trust is like a marble jar. She said, what do you mean? And I said, you share those hard stories and those hard things that are happening to you with friends who over time you filled up their marble jar. They've done thing after thing after thing where you're like, I know I can share this with this person. Does that make sense? And that's what Ellen said. Yes, that makes sense.
So yeah, love Brene Brown and what she has to share, and a good analogy there too with with the marbles and just talking about family. I just wanted to give a quick story here. So this is my family, my wife and my 2 boys, um, and there's sort of a marble jar, I guess, within the family too. And one of these kids gets into trouble more often than the other. I'm guessing you can tell which one that is. So this guy, sometimes misbehaves in the bus, sometimes doesn't do his dishes like he's supposed to, telling me that his room is clean when it's really not. And all of those things obviously can take those marbles out of the trust jar. But there are ways that he builds those back up with making nice artwork for me that I can put on the refrigerator, being nice to the kindergartner at the bus stop. So there's interpersonal examples here too, just in terms of trust, and that's really how we're built. But we know that there can be a run on the bank, like I said, and those marbles start to disappear. This is a Pew Research study that talks about public trust in government going back to 1958 all the way through last year. And can you imagine what trust looked like back in around 1960, where we're close to 80% of trust within the government, and then where we're at today, which is like right around 20%. So lots of issues, and it's obviously not just schools that are looking to rebuild trust, but lots of different organizations and entities that are doing that. And this is a picture that I feel like maybe describes where a lot of schools are at when they think about building bridges and building trust, where we've got this big gap between a couple different sides. Whether that's still some hard feelings over the way that different COVID procedures were done within the school district, book banning taking place, competitive school board races, all sorts of things, all sorts of issues that are taking place in schools that have really divided a lot of folks. And schools are really trying to figure out what does this blueprint look like as we try and rebuild trust? How can we get people together that maybe have different points of view on different topics, but we know as a district, we need to try and come together as one big family, and to be able to mend some of those bridges that have been broken over the last few years. So one way to do that is around brand storytelling, and that's where I want to spend a lot of our time today. And the use of video and using video to help tell stories to help rebuild that trust within your school district. Video has that unfair advantage where it's an emotional medium, and it is a way that we can help tell stories. We can provide that lens through the brick walls of the school building for people to be able to see, and for districts not just to be able to tell people that we've got great staff and students and programs and all these things taking place in the schools, but show them what that looks like. And video, I think, is many times underutilized by schools, and I've got an example of that here coming up. It needs to be used with purpose. It needs to be strategic, and looking at your strategic plan, looking at your school board goals or superintendent goals or different goals that you have as a district, and being able to tie content back to that. And that's this piece of strategic storytelling where, yes, there can be some really good stories to tell. I remember there's a school district not too far from me that had this great story about there's a student who something happened to one of her front teeth, and her family didn't have enough money to be able to pay for the dental surgery and the work that was needed to put another tooth in. And the school district did a great job kind of around kind of what that looked like. It was a good story, but it wasn't necessarily strategic to what the district was looking to do. And there was kind of like, for me, like a yearning of like, okay, was there more to the story? I mean, this is a nice story, but how does this sort of connect to what's going on and it can, I don't know, help inspire me? So video is a great way to be able to do that. Video, I see in too many districts where it's sort of like a regurgitation of a fact sheet where there's not that heart, there's not that emotion, there's not that passion that in schools we have so many great opportunities to be inside of classrooms, to be capturing the magic that's taking place and the relationships and the smiles and the heartbeat of these schools. But instead, I'm going to share one bad example first, and then I'll share an example of something that we've done around video and around storytelling. So this isn't from a school, but it very well could have been. And so this is an example of more or less what I see some schools doing that I don't think is a great way, a great utilization of video.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Briggs and welcome to Sun Suburbs Today. This webcast brings you the latest news and happenings for the Northwest Metro each day. An unusually high number of students have reported influenza-like symptoms at Basswood Elementary in Maple Grove, prompting district officials to...
Okay, I'm not going to make you suffer through the rest of that video, but there's a lot of districts and that use, I'll call them talking head videos, where you've got one person who's speaking and that's really where things are at. And for some things, that can be a good way to be able to get communication out. I will tell you though, with AI and so many new tools out there with avatars and different things that you can kind of make happen in the back end by typing in words and having somebody say those, there will continue to be more of those types of videos out there competing for your attention. And to really stand out from the rest of your competition and to try and get more engagement on your video, you need to be able to draw people in. You need to create content that is thumb stopping as people are scrolling on their phones. Within the first 2 or 3 seconds of the video, it's going to grab their attention. And another common error that I see a lot of districts doing is having a branded introduction to videos that, a common way that every video starts. And I think at one time that was good. Now on social media, if your first 3 seconds of your video is the exact same as every other video that you're posting, you're not going to be able to grab people in and have them engage and watch the rest of your video. Because if they can't get past the first 3 seconds, what good is the rest of the video if they're not going to watch it? So trying to find that engaging content, if you've got drone clips, if you've got smiles and something that's going to draw people in, kind of like this thumbnail image here of this video I'm about to show, those are all just some tricks to try and get more people, more engagement with your content that you're creating. You also want to tell stories. You want to be able to grab people and you want to be able to bring them in and be able to help illustrate some of the great things that are taking place in your school district and support those with images that you have to illustrate what that looks like. I want to share this short example from Forest Lake Schools. This is something that we call a brand anthem video, where we've created this video and really kind of going around the district, getting all sorts of clips and then kind of putting this together with music and graphics and all those pieces, and really a personality too, because videos do have personality depending on the pacing of the edits, the music that you choose, the types of clips that you're assembling and putting together. All of those should tie back to your brand and what it is that you want to try and have people feel and have that cohesive to everything else that you do, from your website to your flyers and PDFs, to the interactions that people are having when they visit your school and they're meeting the secretary for the first time. All that ties into brand, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But here is an example of a brand video that we've completed for a school district.
This is Ranger Territory, the places and people that make up our community. This is where relationships come first, where we choose to engage, where we challenge our limits and find inspiration. We are many voices, but one community. Many passions, but one goal: to be the best we can be every day. We're on a journey from day 1 to day 2,223. A journey guided by the best teachers. A journey filled with opportunities we can only find here. This is our school, our place to dream. Our hard work that pays off, and we protect it. When you're a Ranger,
you choose to be a Ranger.
You commit.
You are all in.
we are Rangers. And this is our territory.
So you can kind of tell, I mean, the music a little bit more dramatic, and that's kind of the feel that the school district is looking for. Lots of elementary, middle school, high school, athletics, academics, all types of different activities, really highlighting whether for this district some of their offerings. Part of this piece too is many school districts encompass several communities, and that was the case with this district, where they've got a main community that they're named after, but there's like 8 other communities that are all around them that you can see on the map. So part of this was trying to bring all of those communities together under one school district and having some continuity and having some pride and ownership within the communities, the school community, even if they don't necessarily have pride for their given community that they live in, if that makes sense. So a couple of things that I think are really important ingredients to the creation of any video. One, it has to be authentic and real. And you want to, I mean, there are some cases like this one where you're scripting. I think that more and more videos, people can start to see through when things aren't authentic, and it will draw you in more when things maybe aren't quite as like perfect or polished. So that authenticity, I think, is a really important piece. Sometimes we use teleprompters, but I'd say not very often, because in terms of being authentic, sometimes just having people speak from the cuff and being able to speak from their heart and be authentic and real comes off better than someone who is, you can tell, is just kind of reading off of a teleprompter. It needs to be interesting, right? You want, what's different, what's unique, what's a reason that we can give people to care about whatever it is that we're talking about. There needs to be something a little bit different or unexpected within that story. It also needs to be relevant. And just like we tell teachers that the content that they're teaching students needs to be relevant, what we're creating, I think it also helps to be relevant. And whether it is, we've got Teacher Appreciation Month coming up in May for many school districts. Having content around teachers obviously can be done any time of the year, but it's even more relevant when we're talking about appreciating teachers and looking at that those weeks in May where teachers are really lifted up and celebrated and recognized. And then strategic is that other piece, which I touched on a little bit. There are some great videos, and sometimes there are just fun videos putting it on social media. It's something silly, it's something goofy. I get it. There more times than not, though, looking for ways to be able to tie things back to your strategic plan. So is there something that you're doing to help around the mental health of your students? And are there images, groups, pictures, things like that can be shared that tie back to some of those larger strategic pieces that are still good things, good stories to tell, but they're also strategic in terms of their nature and being able to tie that back to larger district goals.
Jake, I just have a question while you're on that slide talking about
Yes.
being authentic. So Bradley commented in the chat, 13 going on 30 mood board vibes. They talked about authenticity a lot in that movie. So love that reference. But I was thinking that, you know, a lot of the times it's better to be putting stuff out there. It's better to just put it out there than wait for it to be perfect. Like your first video isn't going to be amazing. If you go back and you look at YouTube channels and stuff like that, the first videos on those channels are sometimes rough and you figure it out as you go along and you improve. But my thought with this is with, you know, AI being how it is right now and how it's developing, and there's a lot of deep fake videos that are coming out. Do you think that being more authentic and maybe not reading off a teleprompter or making it feel very rehearsed might be beneficial because it feels more real compared to a deep fake AI video? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think definitely. I think that the more real that you can be, I think it does bring that trust factor. And people, I think, I mean, you know, around 2020 with COVID and all that, I think people got used to seeing more authentic video content because we couldn't have big crews in to like do all these things, and it was you and your webcam, you know, in terms of communication. And I think to a certain degree, people appreciated that, where there weren't all of the nice, like super polished pieces, and there was some room for error and, you know, kids running behind you, you know, when you're trying to record a webinar or whatever. I mean, it makes people more real. It makes people more approachable. And in terms of the messaging too, I mean, if I'm watching something and it's just kind of like blah, 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 and there's nothing really there that, I don't know, grabs my attention or is different or is unique or is interesting, I'm not going to watch that video for too long. But if someone can kind of riff and, you know, be comfortable within their own skin and be able to share and use their own words, and you can still be strategic and use your own words without necessarily having to use a teleprompter and have something super formal. I understand there's times, you know, where maybe that has to happen. This is not a no, never, but more times than not, I think the more real and authentic you can be. And typically when we're doing videos with interviews, we've got strategic questions, but we're not sending those to people ahead of time. And we are letting them, in their own words, be able to share some of the great things about their school district or why they chose the school district or whatever that looks like, and have that come off authentically. Because we have found too, when we send questions out beforehand, people will spend way too much time rehearsing and like typing something out. And then once they get to the interview, they're like, all right, you know, I've got my piece of paper here and here, like I'm ready to go. And we're like, no, that's not how this works. We'll ask you questions and certainly give them ideas and prompts of kind of like what we're going to be talking to people about. We want them to be prepared, but I guess not too prepared, to have that authenticity factor when we're talking about whatever topic it is for the video.
Awesome. Thank you.
So talking about change and things changing, and a lot of things have changed, and we look, you know, keep going back to COVID, maybe because it's like the 4-year anniversary of everything changing, but you know, the way that we grocery shop, the way that we go to restaurants, the way that we eat, the way that we order food, like there's so many things that are changing. And so is the way that I think communications is going, and the way that we storytell, the way that we market, the way that we deliver education to students, and the way that we work in schools is all changing. And if we're not changing, we're going to be behind, you know, getting behind. And competitors, and there are so many more of those out there now, between more online schools and more charter schools, a lot of parents choosing to just educate kids themselves in a homeschool environment, lots and lots of different changes. And we're really seeing a marketing shift. And the way that people are getting information about you in your school district is changing. And we'd like to think that people will just go to our website and get information because that's what we've spent so much time on. And this is where we can kind of control our message and put great things and all that stuff out there. But there's lots of different websites out there. There's, niche, there's Google reviews, there's great schools, there's all of these different places that parents, really have a consumer mentality, as many of them are shopping for schools and looking for the best choice for their child. And we're really in this era where the customer is in control. And I just saw some facts that 83% of purchase decisions are based on word of mouth. And what are people saying about your school district? And what are some of those things that people are putting out there? Maybe not on your channels, but in different ways. And people many times make decisions based on that. So not too long ago, I needed a new washing machine because ours stopped working. And many people think that, all right, you just go to maytag.com or whatever website it is. Well, yeah, but I know what maytag.com is going to tell me in terms of that washing machine, right? What do I want to do? I want to go and look at reviews. I want to see some, people have videos or people have different testimonials. What are people really saying about this? And I think parents are the same way, because they're not necessarily just looking at your website. Like I said, they're looking at different sources and trying to get that information. So that's a piece in terms of your brand, your reputation, and who you are to be aware of. As you're creating content, as you're putting things out there, you want to be creating these stories and create this environment where people feel like they're empowered to be able to tell their stories and hopefully share more good experiences than bad experiences out there for other parents to be able to share. So one piece is within all this rebuilding trust and strategic storytelling is, empowering people to be able to go out there, share those good experiences on some of those platforms, because we know, and as communicators, that parents are going out there and looking. So a lot of this is about restoring trust and being able to tell and share some of those great things that are going on inside of your school, and giving people a reason to believe in what you do. And yes, it's interpersonal communication. Having perhaps some customer service training for your frontline staff to be able to communicate with families, new families, existing families coming in better, so that they're providing the best possible experience. Because if you've got all these great things on your website and you're creating great video and you've got a great website up and you're trying to get enrollment up and you're bringing people in, and they walk into the front office of a school and it's Mrs. Crabapple, behind the front desk, who's just kind of not very happy to be there, that's their first impression. That's a representation, a poor representation of your brand and who it is that you're really trying to communicate. And that's not building trust, right? And you need to, make sure that people know the importance of every interaction that people are having. So that's, like I said, it's an interpersonal piece, but it's also a mass communications piece by being able to tell those stories for more and more people to be able to see what's going on. You want people to, as a new kindergarten family, to have a great experience, right? Or anybody new moving into the district. And we want to continually think about that piggy bank, the marble jar, and putting more and more content in there. When people, in most communities, between 70 and 80% of people living in the community don't have any connection to the school. So they don't have kids in school, they don't work in the school, they don't have a spouse who maybe works in the school, and they drive by your school, and this is basically what they see. They see the brick walls, and they probably see tax dollars, but they don't really know what's going on inside of the school and all of the great stories and the great things that are taking place there. So our job really is to help provide that lens through the brick walls for people to be able to see the parents, the volunteers, the teachers, the different people who are inside the school, who are creating these experiences for students and new programs and curriculum. And as we want to try and build that trust and really buy in with the community in terms of the great things that we're doing, our job is to tell those stories and strategically tell those stories for people to be able to see those great things that they're not going to be able to see when they just drive by the school. We need to be proactive with a lot of these things. So one of the tough things with storytelling is that it takes time. And that's something that I know a lot of people don't have a whole lot of when it comes to their school communications, that there's different crises, there's lots of different things coming at you in terms of priorities. And carving out that time and being strategic is really important. So one suggestion that I have is creating an editorial calendar if you don't already have that. So looking forward, now to the month of April, and what does that look like? What are some strategic things that we want to share? What are some things that happen every April that we want to make sure that people know? What are some things in terms of activities that students might be doing toward the end of the school year that we can highlight to be able to showcase? Maybe there's a new fabrication lab that's at the high school, and you haven't done anything on that yet. We want to be able to get into there and share some of those stories and great things that are taking place, so people can see those things. So the more proactive you can be, I think the better your content is, rather than just being reactionary and just waiting for people to email you and say, hey, there's a great thing taking place at our elementary school in an hour. Can you come over here and get that? Well, I mean, we can try, but many times that doesn't happen. And the way that you're able to build that story isn't necessarily there. So we want to be able to talk to the people, ideally the people that are closest to the action. So if it is that fab lab at the high school, maybe it's your superintendent if they had a small part in kind of the creation of that. But ultimately, we want to talk to people who are closest to the action. We want to talk to the students. We want to talk to the teachers who are in there to be able to hear their perspectives, because they're going to be the most authentic and real in terms of what's actually taking place and what this looks like, and to be able to give those stories that other people can kind of help share in the community, because maybe they're like, I saw one school that was creating beds for people that were homeless in their area within their with industrial arts program, and for students to be able to talk about that, share that, like, that's a great story, right? And then when you can tie that back strategically, that's an even better story to be able to think about. So what are some of those things? Is it around social emotional learning? Is it around mental health? What are some of those things that your district's really focusing on and wanting to talk about? And what are some of those stories that could be told? Jennifer, I see a couple questions maybe coming in here. Yeah.
Yeah, so we have two really great questions. One is from Megan, I think. Megan. I want to say Megan, but I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it. I'm so sorry. Now the question is, do you have a specific job position in your district that handles PR or communications, or does this fall under a superintendent or principal? What is your experience there, Jake, with who would be kind of spearheading this kind of project in rebuilding trust using video?
Yeah, well, I think every district's obviously a little bit different in terms of how they're set up. Some people have a communications person or social media person on staff that's able to, help put things together and help kind of orchestrate some of those things. Sometimes it could be a superintendent, sometimes an executive assistant from a superintendent who is kind of helping with some of the communications pieces, can help put things together. So those are a few pieces, and sometimes it's a matter of outsourcing and finding a partner, whether that is a company like ours or whether that is even media. I mean, sometimes when you get that third party like endorsement, where you've got a local newspaper or a local television station coming in to help tell that story. Granted, you lose some control over that when it's not you telling the story, but you do gain kind of that third party endorsement when you've got another group that's coming in to help you tell that story. And if it is a newspaper or television station, obviously that's at no cost.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And I mean, when you're having the local news or the local press share the stories that are going on in your school, then you're reaching a broader audience and you're able to kind of share that message. I mean, you talked about that with the brick wall, especially for people who don't have kids in school or a spouse or whatever in school. We have another question from Bradley. And are you echoing the stories over social media channels? social media channels and capturing engagement feedback. So what would be your response for that, Jake? And how are you getting feedback on the videos that you're producing?
Yeah, so I mean, social media is obviously a really good way to be able to get your stories out there. And I would also say, for certain stories too, I mean, trying to lean on some other community partners or other groups that may be connected to some of the work, because you've got your defined, I'll just say, I don't know, 1,000 followers on your social media channel, but what are other ways that you can get this message out to some other groups that may not be necessarily connected to the school to be able to see those stories? So in terms of engagement and feedback, I mean, yes, I mean, Facebook, YouTube, other video platforms have some great analytics in terms of seeing who's watching and how much they're watching. And I would really encourage people to dive into that. That's where I talked about, the first 3 seconds of the video being really important. And if you're seeing that people aren't making it past, the 5 or 10 second mark of your video, that's a time to come back, kind of take a look in the mirror and be like, all right, what are ways that we could be doing to have some more engagement? Can I start my video in a different way than I've been doing, and try and see if we can get those numbers up? So we've got more people who are hanging out for at least half the video. I mean, ultimately we want people to watch the whole video, but what are some ways that we can do that? And a lot of that, honestly, I mean, it's trial and error and seeing what resonates with your audience and your community and keeping an eye on the metrics. Another thing too, I mean, we talked about the creation of video content, starting small, starting with quick Instagram reels or Facebook stories that are 10, 15, 20 seconds long. Start there. And then build your video muscles up, so to speak, as you're working on things. And as you get more experience and as you're getting more feedback from people and seeing what's working and what's not. Because sometimes people think of video as this big, scary thing that they need, all this training and it's just going to take a lot of time, which it can take a lot of time. But when you start small and kind of go that direction, it's a lot easier for people to be engaging and to be to like I said, to be building up those muscles and getting their skill level up there. So then maybe you can be creating those video content that's a bit longer.
Awesome. And I'm just going to read this one we have from Donna. So we have a part-time communication person who is in charge, oops, sorry, scroll down, who is in charge of our social media posts. So that's great. So you're having somebody who handles social media. I mean, social media can almost be like a full-time job. They also help to create a quarterly newsletter that is mailed to all our homeowner and renters in the district so that the whole community knows what's happening in our schools. So, I mean, that's great to be communicating with the people in your area, Donna. Love to hear that. Mailed out newsletter. I mean, that's very quaint. I don't know if I get mail I don't get mail very often, but I like that. It's a great way to reach the people in your neighborhood. And then Bradley said that 3 seconds you mentioned tends to create a trend if it's effective and will eventually become part of the blur. How do we switch it up without selling ourselves short?
Yeah, I guess I probably want to lead more into that. I mean, I think being different and being unique, especially in those first 3 seconds, is important. So whether those are different angles of clips that you're getting, like maybe it's a drone, maybe it's like an action piece. If you've got 5th grade students who are launching rockets, and you've got some, a really engaging piece of video and great sound and all that stuff at the beginning. Kind of thinking about looking at your story and having the best visuals possible kind of at the beginning to kind of set the hook. And then obviously you need to keep things going. You can't just have a great 3 seconds of video and then have the rest of it not be all that good. But I think keeping it fresh and then just really looking for those unique pieces from every story that's going to differentiate those and putting kind of front loading that content and having that as your first few visuals in the video. Cool. All right. So it is all about building trust. It is all about those ways. And I think each of us, in schools has a unique position where sometimes we can influence more than others. I think part of this is awareness too, and just knowing that every interaction, every postcard, every video, every school board meeting, these are all opportunities to be putting marbles in this jar. And the more that we can keep looking at some of those interactions and just trying to make sure that people are having a great experience, and we are giving people also opportunities to be able to share their stories. Because if you're not telling your story, somebody else is, and it's probably not the way that you want it told. And this is about really controlling that narrative about your school district, and not letting the local newspaper, not letting the local television station control the narrative for you. There will be some times that they do that, but you want to make sure that you also are sharing some of the great things that you're putting out for people to be able to see those. And they may not always see those through traditional news channels. And on your website, having strong images, great pictures, smiles. I go to visit a lot of school websites, and there's just exterior photos of their buildings, which can be beautiful and great, but we want to make that human connection. And every district as well is different, just in terms of their permissions and that process in terms of getting photos and videos. So if you don't know what that is for your school district, be sure to look into that. But you want to try and get those faces and those people and that connection, which does just feel warmer. And I think it also does help build that trust. I believe the best stories are shareable, and I'm not just talking like Facebook and social media shares, but in terms of shares that are taking place offline. So as people are talking in the grocery store, as people and neighbors are talking, you want to give them stories that are shareable and repeatable, so they can say, hey, did you see that story? Did you hear about that story of those students who are creating beds? That's content then that kind of gives them some social capital, which some people like to have, to be able to go out and tell other people and share with other people. If it's just facts and information, people aren't necessarily going to be going and talking to their neighbor about a fact that they just saw on the new school district website. But when there are stories and examples and anecdotes, both through video and through text, and even some school districts are doing some podcasting, another great way to be able to tell stories. That's really important to be able to do. And this is also about building a choir. This is more than just one story that you're telling. And it's more than just one person who needs to be telling this. If this is just the job of one person, you're not going to be getting all of that out there. And it's about building this choir and finding those storytellers within your school district to be able to go out there and sing the praises of all the great things going on. And it's sort of kind of, in some districts, it's building that culture of storytellers and those people that have permission to be able to go out and take pictures. And maybe there's one person who's kind of bringing all of that together and putting those on social media. Maybe you've got a more distributed model where people can be posting those photos and pictures, but looking to try and find ways to amplify those voices and build that choir of storytellers to be able to go out there and share some of those really good things that are taking place within your school district. So just a couple quick things to unpack here. Trust is like that piggy bank, lots and lots of small deposits over the course of time. Trust is not something that you build overnight. Unfortunately, it is one of those things that you can lose overnight if you've got a situation or something that takes place where you don't have a lot of money already built up in that piggy bank. So this is the long game. This is building bridges. This is building a blueprint really to help restore and build that trust. And that can be through a lot of different ways, through storytelling, customer service training, engaging different groups and different audiences and bringing them together, empowering your leaders in your school district also to be able to bring people together. Some school districts I know have different like advisory forums or groups of people that they kind of bring together, that they're always listening and hearing from their community and just really having the pulse and the heartbeat on what's going on, which can help build trust, but it also can help inform kind of the direction of what stories need to be told and what's resonating with people and what's not. So those are a couple important pieces, I think, just in terms of rebuilding that trust and really sharing your story and communicating your story for people in your community to be able to hear. So I can pause here for questions. I do have another video example if we've got time, but want to open it up here and see if there's any other questions that people have as they've been talking.
Yeah, so just dropped in the chat. If you do have a question, now's the time to put it in the chat or in the Q&A, and then we can have Jake answer it. Maybe we want to just play the video while people put in their questions.
Yeah, so this is a video that we did around teacher appreciation, and staff morale in a lot of places has been low, and we've helped some school districts create videos that highlight their staff. And this one was one that got a lot of attention. You might need to grab a box of Kleenex if you don't have one nearby. But this is one that we did to really help rebuild trust both with staff, to be able to have students talk about how great their teachers are, but then also with the community, for the community to see that investment that's being made in teachers and some of those really special relationships that take place between teachers and students.
Will I sit here? Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Kids are amazing. They truly are amazing, and they don't even realize how much joy and happiness that they bring me. Kids in general are the best part of this work.
It's just fun to come to work every day, and I love using creativity in my teaching, so I try to make sure that they have choices and have some different avenues of way to present things.
Probably the thing that I've learned the most along the way has been that I have to be more authentic. It's really kind of humbling to think that someone is looking at you and they are hopefully getting something that they will carry with them through life, and you want to make sure that it's the right thing.
I'm a pretty positive guy just in general, and I see the best in kids, and I try to think about that every time that there's a struggle or someone that maybe we don't see eye to eye on. It's just that they're trying their best. They're doing the best that they can with what they have.
It's tricky because they're all so different, and you just got to remember we're their safe spot, so you just got to keep being there for them every day.
I think that's my biggest piece, is always, should I do more? Did I miss this? Well, I didn't look through all this. Because as teachers, we want to be like perfect. We want to do the best that we can, but there's always going to be more. I have moments of doubt a lot, and I struggle with, am I doing enough?
Well, one last thing. Something for you to watch. So when you're ready, just press play.
Will this give me the questions or something?
Go ahead.
Mrs. Hill is a good teacher because she tries her best and pushes her students.
Mr. Kozadowski, or he likes to be called Ski. He's caring. He always tries to make us happy.
Miss Anderson is she's really creative and she's always in a good mood.
His love for students around him, for the younger generation, it extends far beyond the classroom.
Every time we go in, it's not something that we do normally in the classroom. It's always something that we would never do outside, but it's creative and fun.
He's accepts me, and if I don't do good, sometimes pacer that makes me kind of mad, but he just tells me that's okay, it's just a number.
He accepts us for who we are.
He truly is an inspiration for me and for so many other people in the school, beyond the school. He is such an incredible human being.
She has this special thing about her where she can make you feel safe, and that's where you need to be, with her in the classroom, as she's your teacher. I want her to know that she's one of the best teachers I've ever had.
Wow. Oh, that is so Amazing. Oh my gosh, Alan, how did you get here?
Hey, look at you guys. Oh my gosh.
Surprise!
Oh, you're here.
I love you.
I love you. I appreciate you probably more than you will ever know.
Oh,
You're my fifth graders.
you have inspired me, and you have inspired so many other kids in this school.
This like just made my life.
It's so nice of you guys to say that. I appreciate that. That makes me feel really proud of what I do.
This like is just a testament to why I do this and why I really have dedicated my life to teaching and will always.
That one still gets me.
Oh, praise God.
So we have this unfair advantage, I think, with schools, and we're really blessed. I mean, those of us who are in that position of being able to communicate and share really powerful stories. It's not like we're selling water bottles or something that is like, doesn't have heart and emotion. And I think that's the piece that as communicators, we need to lean into, because I think there are great stories going on, and many people don't see those and can't experience those. Those of us working in schools, many times see these on a daily or weekly basis, and we need to be able to elevate what it is that we do. And you can't. This video, believe it or not, was leading up to a referendum that the school district was doing, and the response that they got from their community and their business community was huge. And this was one way for them to be able to build that trust, for people to be able to see there are still good things going on in school, despite all the headlines that are going on nationally, that the bad state of schools that a lot of people think that we're in. There are some really good things going on here. And I think that's a really important piece for us maybe to leave with today, is just what are some of those stories? What are some of those ways that we can help amplify those voices of students and teachers, and not just tell people that our schools are great, but to show them what that looks like in action, for them to kind of experience that and feel that and have that emotional connection. And I think that's the videos that are the most powerful are the ones that elicit some sort of an emotion, the ones that make you cry, the ones that make you laugh. So what are ways, knowing kind of the secret sauce, I guess, of creating content that we can do to help start building those bridges and being able to start bringing communities and schools back together a little bit more.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jake. This has been really great. Just for everybody who's still here, this will be sent out. So I will be sending out the recording. The presentation deck will be available if you want to go through it again, or if you have any questions. Jake's email is there. If you have any questions about digital signage, you can reach out. And yeah, we'll also be sending out a survey for everybody to fill out, and you'll have a chance to win the Amazon gift card with that. So thank you, everybody. Thanks, Jake, so much for being here.
Thanks,
and
everyone.
sharing.
Appreciate it.
And we'll all see you later. Bye.